Happy New Year from Turf Talk. Welcome to award season, Vance. Haven't talked in a while, but we do have Eclipse Award finalists. As previously discussed, you and I disagreed on Horse of the Year.
Yeah, I'm firmly in Arrogate's camp. I think the head-to-head mattered in the Breeders' Cup Classic. He won very convincingly, even after California Chrome had his own way the whole race. Yeah. California Chrome obviously had a terrific 2016, winning throughout the world, dominating his division start to finish. But I firmly think Horse of the Year belongs to the best horse, and I think Arrogate showed that in the Breeders' Cup.
Who do you think will win?
California Chrome by a landslide.
Okay.
So I have no fantasies that Arrogate's going to come out on top here. So it's just another losing selection for Horse of the Year, and I've had quite a few of those in recent years.
More of those or Derby selections?
More Derby selections, but Horse of the Year, it's catching up very quickly.
Okay. I did go with Chrome, as we discussed, and then you basically said my reason for voting for him. Looking at the whole year, thought he delivered, and I am one of those who does take the international races into account, both for our horses going over there and the ones coming here. It's why I voted Highland Real Champion Turf Male, but not Queen's Trust for any award. The Breeders' Cup was her only win. In fact, to me, one of the biggest surprises in all of the Eclipse Award was her as a finalist for 3-year-old. I thought Karina Mia had done enough to get a nod, and even if not her, there were some other options as well.
Yeah, and there's really no telling if, Queen's Trust even earned more first place votes than Karina Mia did. I'm guessing
true.
She didn't.
Well, no one else probably earned other first place votes.
That's very true. Songbird should be a unanimous selection as far as anybody else is concerned. I'm concerned, and everybody else. So, but yeah, it's just the strange way that they do things to determine finalists. It's all based on points in first, second, and third, and it's just kind of surprising Karina Mia at least didn't make third choice on more ballots than Queen's Trust did.
Right. Any other surprises for you?
The major surprise as far as finalists are concerned, Melatonin not being a finalist for older male. Lord Nelson, the sprint specialist, getting instead just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
No.
Melatonin won the Santa Anita Handicap, the Gold Cup at Santa Anita, and he outran Frosted in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Had a pretty good year all around, and the fact that people didn't recognize that I thought was a little odd.
Yeah, I agree.
And then there's the Lady Aurelia controversy for 2-year-old filly, which I got into this afternoon in a blog on bristnut.com. You can see it now, where I kind of give a question and answer session on why I thought Lady Aurelia wasn't really eligible for this Eclipse Award for 2-year-old filly. So it's a pretty decent read, if I do say so myself. But she is a finalist, and we have to accept that. But as far as I'm concerned, you really need to have at least one graded stakes win in North America to be eligible. She's not eligible in that regard.
Now, for me, that's what kept her off the top spot. Not saying I would have voted her for sure, but I need some graded stakes effort in the States to consider you a champion. Now, I did vote her third because to me the group was crying out for some success story, and I felt like she was it. But to me, if I'm comparing grade ones, I still say Breeders' Cup greater than the Pre-Morny, which is why it wasn't a tough decision for me anyway on top. But in terms of who champion will be, I agree with you. I want to see a graded stakes effort here. I did feel that the start meant I could put her on the ballot. And I'm drawing a blank on his name, but there was a American was actually a claimer here and went and won the Melbourne Cup, and I voted him third for Turf Male because I felt like, if you go and win the Melbourne Cup, that deserves a token recognition. And I forget who was champion male that year, probably Wise Dan. I forget how far back it was, but maybe Cape Blanco, I don't know. But
It's a difference of philosophy.
Yeah.
I just think that if you're only eligible based on an overnight race, maiden allowance, or claiming, you're simply not qualified or eligible to be voted a North American champion. And like I said, it's just different of philosophy. Even if you're putting him second or third and it's not really your top choice, it's something that I can't do personally.
Who'd you go with for jockey?
Jockey, I went with Mike Smith. Very big. He's a money rider these days. He's riding a lot less races than his contemporaries like Javier Castellano, the Ortiz brothers. But he did such a brilliant job on horses like Arrogate and Songbird this year, and for my money, he's the money rider of these times, and he does a spectacular job when he gets that opportunity.
Yeah, I felt the same way. The numbers were there to back it up. To me, I thought, I mean, at the top, and there were even some Irad, Florent, and Julian, 3 guys who could have been finalists without us batting an eye, didn't make it. So definitely a concentration of talent at the top. But, Mike Smith is riding the horses that when they get beat, the jockey could be the first person we look at as to an excuse, and time and again, and granted he was on horses like Songbird and Arrogate and Dreyfong, but nevertheless he got the job done, and there just was not a lot of criticism, and for as little as he rides, he opens himself to that when he's in the spotlight. So I agree with you, and James also put him on top, and even Steve Bick, some might say an East Coast guy, but he had him on top too. So people definitely recognizing the money rider, so to speak.
Yep, I'm glad I'm in good company in this regard, and I think hearing all of this makes me think he's got a pretty good shot at winning now.
And I'll go out on this bad note for me anyway, but I felt like in reading the comments after the finalists came out, people mentioning Klarovich getting snubbed for owner, and I'm going to agree with them. I put a lot of thought into who's on top. Sometimes for second and third, it's easy to lean on earnings and wins and things like that. And I certainly appreciate what the Ramseys have done with their farm, and they claim and they ship, and they definitely play to win. But Klarovich, being the leading owner by graded stakes earnings, probably deserved a nod this year that I did not give. Something to keep in mind for next year. Any votes you'd like to have back?
No, I'm
No,
perfectly
you're good.
satisfied. I'm both of us kind of abstain from categories where we
Yes,
don't feel like
that's
that.
true.
I in my early years as an Eclipse Award voter, I participated in all ballots, but in the last few years, I've started abstaining from the owners category, from the breeders, and from the apprentice jockey. I just don't feel like I can give my very best opinion on those, so I kind of restrict myself to the equine trainer and jockey categories, and
All right.
and I make sure I'm totally satisfied with all my selections before I press that button on the computer, and I will never take any of them back.
All right. Well, another difference in philosophy for us, but it's part of what makes the Eclipse Awards interesting, or at least interesting to us. Nothing about it will be interesting, so they've already gone on to a Numa guy or whatever it is other people watch on YouTube. But we're glad you stuck with us, and happy 2017. We're back.
Yeah, I can't wait to have some more of these turf talks in the coming weeks.
All right. Talk to you next week.